Emmanuel Usu smiled at his phone as another 50,000 sadies hit the offshore account. 5 women, 5 perfect marks, and his idiot brother Marcus taking the fall while Emmanuel walked free. What Marcus didn't know was that Emmanuel had been playing him all along. If you thought part 1 was shocking, wait until you see what these 9 women do to the man who thinks he's untouchable. Subscribe now because this takedown is even more brutal. The bus to Kumasi left at dawn. 9 women, 1 mission. Scarlett sat in the front studying the files Evelyn had provided. Emmanuel Usu, Marcus's older brother, 42 years old, real estate developer, married with 3 children, deacon at Victory Bible Church in Kumasi, respected businessman. And a predator. He's smarter than Marcus, Evelyn said from the seat beside her. She'd insisted on coming. Marcus was flashy, emotional. Emmanuel is calculated, cold. He's been running cons since he was 19. Marcus learned everything from him. Vivian leaned forward from the row behind. So how is he playing this prison angle? Evelyn pulled out transcripts of prison phone calls. Emmanuel visits Marcus weekly, plays the devoted brother, but he's using Marcus's notoriety. He approaches women at church, at grief counseling groups, at support meetings, tells them his brother's story as a cautionary tale, says he's trying to help women avoid men like Marcus, positions himself as the good brother. Let me guess, Grace said bitterly. The women fall for the sensitive, protective act. Every time. Evelyn's voice was hollow. The 5 current targets: Daniela, a nurse whose husband died last year; Blessing, a teacher going through divorce; Akasua, a banker recovering from domestic abuse; Ya, an event planner whose business partner embezzled funds; and Efua, a widow with 2 kids trying to rebuild her life. Patience held her twins closer. Vulnerable women, women in pain. Emmanuel's specialty. Evelyn's hands clenched. He identifies their wounds, then infects them. Abina, Detective Abina, was already on her phone with CID Kumasi branch. Inspector Mensah is meeting us at the hotel. They've been watching Emmanuel but need evidence to move. His operation is more sophisticated than Marcus's. Shell companies, international transfers, legal cover. How much time before the money disappears? Josephine asked. 12 days, Evelyn said. They're calling it the Liberation Fund. Emmanuel convinced these women to pool resources for a women's empowerment investment property. 50 units. Ground floor retail, upper floor housing for abuse survivors. Very noble. Except it doesn't exist, Scarlett finished. The property is real. Emmanuel owns it. But he's planning to remortgage it after their investment, pocket their money plus the loan, and let the property foreclose. The women lose everything. He walks away clean with 1.6 million sadies. Naomi stared out the window at the passing landscape. My aunt almost died because of this family. Now they're doing it again. Not for long, Comfort said quietly. She'd been silent most of the trip, but her eyes held steel. We stopped Marcus. We'll stop Emmanuel. The bus rolled into Kumasi 4 hours later. The plan was simple in concept, complex in execution. They couldn't just expose Emmanuel like they'd done with Marcus. He'd prepared for that scenario, had lawyers, had political connections, had 12 years of carefully constructed legitimacy. They needed him to expose himself. At the hotel, Inspector Mensah spread surveillance photos across the conference table. Emmanuel meeting with each woman separately. Church services. Coffee dates that looked innocent but weren't. He's grooming them individually, Mensah explained. Daniela thinks she's the only one he's interested in romantically. Blessing thinks he's just a friend and financial advisor. Akasua believes he's helping her specifically because she's a banker and he needs legitimate business references. Each woman has a different story. So they don't know about each other at all? Philomena asked. Not yet, that's our opening. Scarlett studied the photos. Emmanuel was handsome, more polished than Marcus. Designer suits, confident posture, the smile of a man who'd never been caught. "We need to meet these women before Emmanuel transfers the money," Scarlett said. "But if we approach them wrong, they'll warn him and he'll disappear." "Or worse," Evelyn added, "he'll convince them we're the scammers. He's that good." Vivian paced the room. "What if we don't approach them at all? What if we make them come to us?" Everyone turned to her. "Emmanuel's using Marcus's story as his cover, right? The reformed brother trying to save women. What if we flip that? What if we use our story, the 9 women who took down Marcus, to draw out Emmanuel's victims?" Abina's eyes lit up. "A public event. 9 lives. Ghana expands to Kumasi. We're already famous. The story went viral. If we announce we're doing a free seminar on identifying romance fraud, every woman Emmanuel is targeting will want to attend," Grace finished. "They'll want to learn how to avoid men like Marcus." "And Emmanuel will panic," Josephine added. "He'll try to stop them from going, or he'll attend himself to monitor the situation." Scarlett smiled, that predator smile that had become familiar. "Either way, we get what we need. The women meet us in a safe space, or Emmanuel reveals himself by overreacting." Inspector Mensah nodded slowly. "It could work, but we need to move fast. The seminar has to be in the next 5 days before the final money transfer." "Then we'd better get started," Scarlett said. These 9 women were about to set a trap so brilliant, Emmanuel wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. Comment below if you think he deserves what's coming. The flyers went up across Kumasi within 24 hours. 9 Lives Ghana presents Identifying Romance Fraud, featuring the 9 women who exposed Marcus Owusu. Free seminar, Victory Bible Church Hall, Saturday, 2 p.m. Learn the warning signs. Protect yourself. Reclaim your power. The irony of hosting it at Emmanuel's own church wasn't lost on anyone. "His deacon position gives him cover," Evelyn explained as they set up chairs Friday night. "But it also means he can't avoid this event without looking suspicious. Everyone at church knows about Marcus. If Emmanuel doesn't show, people will ask why the good brother isn't supporting fraud awareness." By Saturday afternoon, 200 women packed the hall. And there in the 3rd row sat Daniela, Blessing, Akasua, Ya, and Efua. Emmanuel sat in the back, face carefully neutral, but Scarlett caught the tension in his jaw, the way his eyes tracked every movement. He knew something was wrong, he just didn't know what yet. Scarlett took the stage. The room fell silent. "My name is Scarlett. 4 months ago, I walked into my vow renewal ceremony with 8 women, all my husband's mistresses. Today, I want to tell you how we turned our pain into power." For 90 minutes, the 9 women shared their stories, the lies they'd believed, the red flags they'd missed, the patterns of manipulation. But they were careful. They never mentioned Emmanuel, never said be careful of men who use their brother's crimes as cover. They didn't need to. The 5 women in the 3rd row absorbed every word like water in drought. During the Q&A, Daniela raised her hand. What if the man seems different, like he learned from his family's mistakes? Can people really change?" Scarlett's heart ached. She knew that hope had lived it. "Some people can change," she said gently, "but not con artists. Con artists don't see people as humans. They see opportunities. And they're very, very good at pretending they've changed." Blessing spoke up, voice shaking. "How do you know the difference?" "Actions over time," Patience answered, standing with faith and justice in her arms. "I'm raising Marcus's daughters. I have HIV because of him. And you know what? Even now from prison, he's running the same scam on new women, because that's who he is. That's who he'll always be." Gasps rippled through the audience. Emmanuel stood abruptly. "I think we've heard enough horror stories for one day." "Sit down, Deacon Owusu," the pastor's wife called from the front row. "Let these women finish." Emmanuel sat, but his hands were fists. After the seminar, women lined up to speak with the 9 Lives team. Scarlett watched as Daniela, Blessing, Akasua, Ya, and Efua stayed behind, whispering among themselves. Finally, Daniela approached. "Can we speak privately?" They moved to a side room. The 5 women looked terrified. "We think," Daniela's voice broke, "we think we're being scammed by someone here, someone close." "Tell us everything," Scarlett said softly. The stories poured out: Emmanuel's approach, the investment opportunity, the individual attention, the promises. "But he's Marcus Wusu's brother," Blessing said desperately. "He talks about how ashamed he is, how he wants to help women avoid men like his brother. Why would he do the same thing?" "Because," Evelyn said, stepping into the room, "Emmanuel taught Marcus everything he knows." The 5 women turned. Evelyn's face was calm, but her eyes held decades of pain. "My name is Evelyn Mensa. I was Marcus's first wife, 12 years ago. But before Marcus destroyed me, I met his mentor, his big brother, the man who showed him how to run cons, Emmanuel Wusu." The women went pale. "Emmanuel has been running scams since he was 19, Evelyn continued. "He's been caught 4 times, but his father was a judge. His uncle is a prosecutor. The cases disappeared. Marcus was Emmanuel's protege, his test case. When Marcus got sloppy and emotional, Emmanuel stayed cold and calculated." Akasua's hands shook. "The investment property, the Liberation Fund, doesn't exist the way he described it," Inspector Mensa said, entering with documentation. "The property is real, but Emmanuel is planning to remortgage after your investment, take your money and the loan proceeds and let it foreclose. You lose everything. He profits 1.6 million Sadies." Efua started crying. "I put in my late husband's life insurance. It's all my children have." Ya was shaking. "My business partner already stole from me once. I thought Emmanuel understood, that he'd protect me." "He targeted you because you're vulnerable," Grace said gently. "Because you're in pain, that's what predators do. They find the wounded." "What do we do?" Daniela whispered. Scarlett looked at her 8 sisters, then at Evelyn, then at the 5 new victims. "We do what we do best," she said. "We turn the tables. Emmanuel thinks he's playing chess. We're about to show him he's not even on the board." What Scarlett planned next was so risky, even Inspector Mensa tried to stop her. But these women were done playing it safe. The plan was audacious, dangerous, possibly illegal. But it was perfect. "You want us to pretend we're still investing?" Blessing looked incredulous. "To walk into his trap?" "Not exactly," Abina explained. "You're going to invest, but not your real money. Inspector Mensa has arranged for the CID to provide marked bills, traceable funds that look legitimate. You make the transfer, Emmanuel takes the bait, and the moment he moves that money offshore, we have him on federal financial crimes charges." "But won't he check the money's origin?" Akasua asked. She was a banker, she understood how these things worked. "He will," Inspector Mensa confirmed. "That's why the money is coming from a legitimate CID undercover account set up to look like a women's collective fund. Emmanuel will see exactly what he expects to see: desperate women pooling their resources." "What if he runs?" Ya asked. "He won't." Evelyn's voice was certain. "I know Emmanuel. He's arrogant. He believes he's untouchable. Marcus was emotional, reactive. Emmanuel is ice. He'll take the money because he's taken money 100 times before and never faced consequences." Efua looked at her hands. "My husband died believing I'd be taken care of. I can't let his sacrifice fund a criminal." Scarlett knelt beside her chair. "You won't. We're going to make sure Emmanuel pays for every woman he's ever hurt, but we need you to be brave for just a little longer." The 5 women looked at each other. Some silent conversation passed between them. "What do we have to do?" Daniela finally asked. Over the next 3 days, the 5 women played their parts perfectly. They messaged Emmanuel with renewed enthusiasm about the investment, apologized for seeming distant after the seminar. They'd just been emotional hearing those difficult stories, but it made them more certain that Emmanuel was different, that he was trustworthy. Emmanuel's replies were masterpieces of manipulation. Emmanuel to Daniela, I'm so glad you came to the seminar. It breaks my heart what my brother did, but it also strengthens my resolve to be different, to be the man women can actually trust. You're safe with me. Emmanuel to Blessing, your instincts to be careful are good. That's what makes you smart. But I hope you know by now that I'm not like other men. I've seen the damage they cause. I'd never do that to you. Behind the scenes, Inspector Mensa's team traced Emmanuel's communications. He was using encrypted apps, routing messages through VPNs, but Abina's CID training meant she knew the workarounds. They discovered Emmanuel's partner network, not just his brother Marcus. Emmanuel had 5 other associates across Ghana running similar operations, a syndicate. This is bigger than we thought, Mensa told Scarlett privately. If we can take down Emmanuel, we can dismantle the entire network. But if we move too soon, they scatter, Scarlett finished. I know, that's why timing is everything. The investment transfer was scheduled for Thursday. 1.6 million cedis from 5 women who could barely afford to lose anything. Except the money was marked, traceable, and the moment Emmanuel moved it, every account he touched would light up like a Christmas tree for financial crimes investigators across 3 countries. Wednesday night, Scarlett couldn't sleep. She stood on the hotel balcony, watching Kumasi's lights, thinking about the past 4 months. Vivian found her there, second thoughts. What if we're wrong? What if Emmanuel is smarter than we think? What if he escapes? Then we hunt him again. Vivian's voice was firm. Scarlett, you saved 63 families. You exposed a con artist who'd been operating for years. You built an organization that's helped over 100 women. You're not that heartbroken wedding planner anymore. You're a warrior. I just wanted to plan weddings, Scarlett said softly. I wanted to believe in love. You still can. Vivian squeezed her hand. But now you know the difference between real love and manipulation. That's a gift, even if it came wrapped in pain. Thursday morning arrived like Judgment Day. The 5 women met Emmanuel at his lawyer's office for the official investment transfer. Emmanuel was all smiles, charm, reassurance. Ladies, this is the beginning of something beautiful. The Liberation Fund will change lives. Your lives, other women's lives. This is how we heal the damage men like my brother caused. The papers were signed, the money transferred. Emmanuel's account showed 1.6 million cedis. He shook each woman's hand. I'm so proud of you, truly. They left. Emmanuel waited 10 minutes, then made a call. It's done, transfer the funds. Seychelles account tonight. In a surveillance van 3 blocks away, Inspector Mensa's team recorded everything. He's moving the money, Abina confirmed, watching digital tracers light up her screen. Seychelles account 442977319982. Bearer bonds, offshore trust. He's good. But we're better, Mensa said. The moment that money lands, every international banking authority we've coordinated with freezes the account. Emmanuel walked out of his office at 3 p.m., briefcase in hand, whistling. He had no idea 20 officers were following him. He drove to his house in Ridge, packed a suitcase, kissed his wife and children goodbye, told them he had a business trip to Accra. He drove to Kotoka International Airport, first-class ticket to Seychelles via Dubai, scheduled to depart at 8 p.m. At 7:30 p.m., as Emmanuel sat in the first-class lounge sipping champagne, his phone buzzed. Transaction failed, account frozen. He stared at the screen, tried again, same message. Tried his backup accounts, all frozen. His hands started shaking. He tried to stand, to run, but Inspector Mensah appeared beside him with 6 officers. Emmanuel Usu, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy to commit theft, and organized financial crimes. Emmanuel's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a legitimate businessman. We have recordings, Abina said, stepping forward. 18 months of surveillance. Your conversations with Marcus in prison. Your communications with 5 associates running parallel scams. Your bank accounts across 4 countries. And most importantly, we have the 1.6 million cedis you just tried to steal from 5 women. Emmanuel's lawyer arrived within minutes, expensive, slick, ready to fight. My client maintains his innocence. This is entrapment. Those women willingly invested. In a fraudulent scheme, Mensah interrupted, using marked CID funds in an authorized undercover operation. Everything was legal, counselor. Everything he did wasn't. Emmanuel was taken to Kumasi Central Police Station. By morning, the story broke. Deacon arrested in massive fraud ring. Marcus Usu's brother caught in CID sting. 5 women, nearly lost everything. Until 9 lives. Ghana intervened. The 5 women Scarlett had saved watched the news at the 9 lives temporary office in Kumasi. Daniela was crying. I almost gave him everything. But you didn't, Patience said, sitting beside her with the twins. You were brave enough to ask for help. What happens now? Efua asked. Now, Evelyn said, entering with fresh coffee, Emmanuel faces justice, real justice, not the kind his family connections can erase. The CID has him on federal charges, international charges. He's going to prison for a very long time. And his 5 associates? Blessing asked. Abina smiled. 3 arrested this morning in Accra, Cape Coast, and Takoradi. 2 more are being extradited from Nigeria and Côte d'Ivoire. The entire network is coming down. Subscribe and share this story because it shows what's possible when women stand together. One more twist coming that will make your jaw drop. Emmanuel's trial was fast-tracked due to the overwhelming evidence. Federal prosecutors wanted to make an example. The courtroom was packed, media, victims, the curious. Scarlett and the 9 women sat in the front row. Behind them sat Daniela, Blessing, Akasua, Ya, and Efua. And behind them, 63 families Marcus had defrauded. And behind them, another 42 families Emmanuel had destroyed over 12 years. Emmanuel sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, no longer the polished deacon, just a man facing consequences. The prosecution presented everything. Recordings, bank statements, testimony from victims spanning over a decade. Emmanuel's lawyer tried. My client made mistakes, yes, but these were business dealings gone wrong, not criminal intent. Your client, the prosecutor interrupted, systematically targeted vulnerable women, manipulated their trauma, stole their resources, and left them financially and emotionally devastated. This wasn't business. This was predation, organized, calculated predation. Emmanuel's wife testified she'd known nothing. She was a victim too. Their 3 children would grow up with a father in prison. On the 4th day, Marcus was brought from Nsawam prison to testify. Brothers facing each other across a courtroom. Did your brother Emmanuel teach you how to run romance scams? The prosecutor asked. Marcus wouldn't look at Emmanuel. Yes, when I was 22, he showed me everything, how to identify targets, how to isolate them, how to make them think they were special. It was like a playbook. And was Emmanuel running his own operations while you were running yours? Always he was better at it than me, smarter. I got caught because I got emotional. Emmanuel never did. That's why. Marcus finally looked at his brother. That's why I thought he'd help me from prison, but he was just using my notoriety as cover for his own cons. Emmanuel's face was stone. The verdict came on day 6. On all counts, we find the defendant guilty. Emmanuel Usu, 25 years in prison. 4. 2 million Sadies restitution to victims. All assets seized. But there was one more surprise. As Emmanuel was led away in handcuffs, Evelyn stood. "Your Honor, if I may." The judge nodded. Evelyn walked to the witness stand. 12 years ago, Emmanuel Wusu destroyed my life. I tried to report him, but his family's connections made me look crazy. I lost everything. My reputation, my savings, my faith in justice. She looked directly at Emmanuel. But today, justice isn't blind. Today, the system worked. Not because of connections or money or power, but because 9 women refused to let another predator walk free. She turned to Scarlett and the others. "Thank you for finishing what I couldn't start." The courtroom erupted in applause. The judge allowed it. Emmanuel was taken away. This time, there would be no escape, no family connections powerful enough to erase federal crimes. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. "Scarlett, how does it feel to take down 2 con artists in 6 months?" Scarlett looked at her sisters, her true family now. "It feels like we're just getting started." 6 months after Emmanuel's conviction, 9 Lives Ghana expanded to 5 cities: Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, Cape Coast, and Tamale. The organization had helped 347 women identify and escape financial abuse, recovered 6.8 million Sadies in stolen funds, provided counseling, legal aid, and economic empowerment programs. But more importantly, it had created a network: women helping women, survivors becoming warriors. Daniela became a 9 Lives counselor, specializing in grief manipulation, how predators target widows. Blessing led workshops on divorce vulnerability and financial protection. Akasua created banking fraud prevention protocols, now used across Ghana. Ya built a business recovery program for women whose partners had embezzled. Fua started a children's program, helping kids whose mothers survived financial abuse. They were the Kumasi 5, the newest members of a growing sisterhood. On the 1-year anniversary of Marcus's takedown, the 9 Lives team gathered at Labadi Beach, where it all started with that photo. Scarlett stood at the water's edge, toes in the sand, watching the sunset. Vivian joined her, thinking about Marcus. "No," Scarlett smiled. "I'm thinking about the woman I was a year ago, the one who thought her life was over because a man betrayed her. And now I know my life didn't end, it began." She turned to face the 9 women, no, 14 now with the Kumasi 5. "We began." Patience's twins were walking now, toddling along the sand. Faith and justice, literal and figurative. Grace's boutique had just opened a second location. Josephine's consulting firm was thriving. Naomi had reconciled with her aunt, who was healed and volunteering at 9 Lives. Eunice had left the airline, started a travel safety company for solo women travelers. Abina had been promoted to head of CID Financial Crimes Unit, youngest woman ever. Philomena's real estate business, now focused on affordable housing for domestic abuse survivors. Comfort had opened a salon that donated services to women rebuilding their lives. And Evelyn, she'd finally found peace. 12 years of carrying that weight released. As the sun set over the Atlantic, Scarlett's phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this 9 Lives Ghana?" A woman's voice shaking. "I saw your story, I think I'm being scammed. His name is Patrick, he's a pastor, he's so kind, so understanding, but something feels wrong. I don't know who else to call." Scarlett looked at her sisters. They were already gathering ready. "Tell me everything," Scarlett said. "You did the right thing by calling. You're not alone anymore." The woman began to talk, and the 9 Lives team began to plan. Because the work wasn't finished, it would never be finished. As long as predators existed, 9 Lives would hunt them. But this time they weren't victims. They were an army,